Madagascar, the world's oldest island. Isolated for over 65 million years, its wildlife has evolved into a vast variety of species that are found nowhere else in the world. Over the past few decades, its forests have been rapidly depleted, and now less than 10% still stands. The rivers are stained red as the lifeblood flows from the forests that once stood. But there still may be a chance to save these forests from disappearing forever. An expedition team of international scientists and local researchers are traveling to a remote area of rainforest in the north of the island. Expedition leader James Burrell has been planning this trip for the last 6 months. Key to this trip is local Malagasy scientist Jenene Rabaravoni, who is an expert on the area. He'll be acting as the team's guide on their journey into the forest. He's known them all his life, but he has also seen them change.
Ja, za zegny hatramin'ny fahazazako zegny efa miainga tamin'ny resaka atiala. Nagnamafiorina zay zavatra efa hitako fotsiny zay le biby sy zavamaniry. Hatramin'ny fotoagnan'ny fahazaza zegny efa nifanerasirako. Sahala amizay zegny ny fiainako tamin'ny fahazaza zegny. Izy miaraka tamin'ny tontolo iainana. Ny fiarovana tontolo iainana.
Jenene hopes that by helping with the expedition, the forest of his memory will one day return. The team will document the reptiles and amphibians they find and write a report detailing the health of these forests, offering solutions to ensure their long-term survival. Discover will not only help the future of Madagascar's forests, but also help to better understand forests like these across the world. After 3 days of driving, the team arrive at the village and are welcomed by the local children. From here, they prepare their final trek to base camp with village officials. They hire 30 local villagers to help them on the 15-kilometer trek over mountainous terrain. Now the journey is on foot. It's not easy going.
This is one of the most challenging things I've ever done. There's no shelter. It's midday. Lots of steep hills. Oh, but the end is in sight.
We're getting on towards the forest now. We've been going about 5 hours. We can start to see a real forest. We've got some proper fragments down here. And finally we're getting towards the area we want to study. going into the forest for lunch.
Finally, they reach the shade of the forest. But the hard work isn't quite over yet. This will be their home for the next 5 weeks, but also their field lab too.
Oh, this is interesting.
Now they have a base. It's time for the study to begin.
We're here to survey for reptiles and amphibians and understand how the harsh forest edges affect their distribution. If we can help understand the species that live here, then we can really show that this forest is worth protecting.
The forest is so fragmented. The team need to travel long distances to find a suitable patch to survey. Malagasy students Alicio and Denise are familiar with the terrain, so take the lead. But the rest of the team aren't quite so comfortable. Researcher Lawrence Ball identifies a forest patch which is a perfect study area for a transect.
So we're cutting our 20-metre distance out from the forest edge so we can see what's happening on the edge, and then 100 metres so we can see what's going on inside the forest.
It may look destructive, but it's the only way to survey in this dense understory.
We are working here to see if the amphibian and the reptiles distribution might be changed according to the habitat gradient.
Whilst the transect is well underway, taxonomist Mark Schertz is starting another sampling method.
We're putting in pitfall traps. The smaller animals that live in the leaf litter, they're very hard to see when you're doing normal transects. So we're putting in pitfalls, which involves basically a 50-meter line of tarp and buckets spaced every 10 meters, and the buckets are sunk below the level of the soil. So basically what happens is small animals, they come to this impassable barrier, and that will take them inevitably into a bucket, and then we collect them. It's usually very effective for finding the small creatures that we wouldn't see otherwise, but only if it's done right. So there's a lot of technical things that we have to get precise. There's been a problem. So the original line that I had scouted, we got almost to the line, and Jenani goes, "Oh, shit." Someone had defecated in the area where I wanted, exactly the line where I wanted to put the pitfall trap. So we've had to deviate a little bit, but, you know, all in day's work.
After a day of hard work in the forest, as night falls, everyone is in high spirits. And when Malagasys are in a good mood, they like to dance. forests in Madagascar are disappearing. Whereas once this primeval rainforest extended for hundreds of miles, now it has been reduced to mere patches. What's left is divided and fragmented, surrounded by barren grassland and parched red soil, eaten away by agriculture and roads. A once continuous habitat is now divided up by edges, where the forest abruptly stops and turns to grassland.
These edges, they are the front line of human disturbance. You couldn't see a more profound kind of point at which the impact of humanity on the rainforest sort of portrays itself. This work is more important than ever. It's urgent, it's a race against time. This is deforestation. You know, this is when it's gone. This is the worst case scenario.
Habitat at these edges is different to the dark interior of the forest. The edges are hotter and drier, more exposed to light, and more frequently disturbed. Edges are often dominated by invasive or fast-growing plants, which block the germination of forest plants, stopping the forest from recovering and expanding on its own. A few animals have adapted to live here, but there are many which cannot survive in these new habitats. Inside the forest is a totally different world from the outside. The canopy and understory creates an ecosystem that can support a mass of life. Its nutrient-rich leaf litter and shaded canopy means it is a perfect place for fungi to grow in a vast number of varieties. Amongst this moisture-laden habitat, one of the world's smallest reptiles thrives here. These Brookesia chameleons are less than 2 centimeters long. Their tiny bodies mean they have a high metabolism and so need a large number of insect prey to survive. Because of this, they move extremely slowly to conserve energy. Finding a mate in this habitat can prove challenging. And so when a male finds a female, he makes sure he doesn't lose her by riding around on her back for several weeks. Only the right conditions and the right forest can support these tiny reptiles. As the forest edges close in, these conditions are changed and animals like this tiny chameleon disappear. Mark is checking his pitfall traps for the first time.
So this is a 10 rec. Often we get small mammals, and by recording the small mammals we can get an increased picture of what everything is. So this little guy is still informing us about the forest.
A single 10 rec isn't much to show for all of their efforts, but the coming night gives them the opportunity to go on a night walk.
Well, we're just walking up pretty much the largest and steepest hill in our whole study area. 7:45, so great amphibian and reptile time. Okay,
Best of luck.
best of luck. Hope you find lots. And first one back makes the hot chocolate.
Yeah.
They search all along their network trails, looking for reptiles and amphibians. It is vital to search during the night as well as the day, as most of the animals they are trying to find are nocturnal. But the team have very little success. It's not looking good.
Could be the day or the weather or us or the habitat. It could be lots of things. It's really hard to make any conclusions from one transect. I guess it'll only be by putting everything together at the end that we can really get a picture of what's going on. Generally, if you're in a bit of rainforest, if you find lots of things, that's better than finding very little. But speak of the devil, here we go. Big glance now. So even if you don't find what you're looking for, there's still plenty of exciting stuff to spot. It's a family of lemurs, but we don't know what species yet. Hello.
Despite some interesting sightings, the lack of amphibians in this area is concerning.
This is an extremely degraded habitat. I would be reluctant to call this forest at all.
As they return to camp, the mood is somber. And to add to the misery, a storm rolls in.
It's been absolutely pouring with rain for the last hour. We've had some really close lightning strikes, and we just can't really go out and do anything in this. It's just not safe. Really, we've just got to wait it out. So fingers crossed, the rain will pass tonight and we can get out and do some more field work.
It's nice weather for the rainforest. When it rains, good for the frogs. That's what matters.
But by evening, it's eased enough for them to go out. They have come to a new patch of forest. Immediately, it looks more promising.
I'm pretty excited about this guy. They're hard to find. This is the first specimen of this group that we found, and they have a really good potential for being new species. Look how beautiful a specimen this is. Stunning. My pants are wet, my socks are wet. Wet between the legs, but this makes it worth it.
It seems the rain has brought the forest to life.
Right, so our cameraman has just jumped into a river here in the middle of really nice forest, and he's caught this beauty of a frog. Look at that. That is a piece of frog. A monster frog. Wow. Look at this beak. Wow. This is good for it. Awesome. Look at that.
By morning, the rain has stopped and everything starts to dry out. But last night's storm has led to concerns in camp.
That's really not good. We're just looking at a enormous branch that fell down last night. There's an enormous crash. It's about 6 meters from my tent. it still hasn't actually hit the ground. It's suspended by lianas. Could just have one dead branch, could be overreacting.
But Ginini doesn't seem unduly worried.
No, it doesn't fall down because there are still strong vines.
If it does, you buy me a beer.
It's
Okay.
I'm sure.
As night falls, the team return to the rich forest patch, eager to find more creatures.
There we go. There we go.
This patch of forest is rich with life.
Oh, very well camouflaged. I think you're pretending to be dead.
The Brigamantis. Cool.
After such a successful night, the hard work of science can fully begin, much to Mark's excitement.
Super, super cool. Awesome. 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 This is a great gecko. Great. Very nice find. It's a Conomantis. Okay, a Boophus.
The team must follow strict protocols for their finds if they want to prove these forests are worth protecting.
Oh, interesting.
Got a big, thick, super ocular find.
11, 12, 13.
Grey, like my soul.
Nothing. There's nothing that has 13 spines. So Tom found what is probably a new species. 6 lateral vertebral. Wow. Weird. Cool. Okay.
This side of conservation is rarely shown.
What taxonomists do is we try and identify diversity in different places. On expeditions like this, that's what our purpose is. And in order to really confirm that you have anything, you must have a voucher specimen. If species X is an unknown species and all you have is a little bit of tissue, like a toe tip or something, that's not adequate to actually say, here's a new species. Well, the process is quite simple. Usually the first thing you do is take photos, document the species in life because the coloration changes so much post-death. This is the same species of frog. In preservative, in ethanol, these frogs lose their green color and they become bright yellow. So what you see in a museum specimen is not necessarily what you saw in life. We take a DNA sample, tie on the label, inject a little bit of ethanol, and then we whack it in the long-term fixation solution for a day, and then we transfer it to the permanent storage, and it stays in 70% ethanol for 200, 300, 400 years. The variety of reptiles and amphibians in Madagascar is pretty much unparalleled. Per square kilometer, I think we have the highest diversity in the world. It's a country that's been isolated for 65 million years. So it's just this little laboratory where evolution has gone let's see what we can do. And it produces just incredible animals. It's very clear from preliminary field identifications that we have several species that are undescribed.
Mark preserves only 2 individuals of each species as to not affect the population. One will be taken to an institute in Germany and the other to a collection in Madagascar to inspire and help young students on future research. These findings will really add weight to the argument for protecting this patch of forest. But there are other threats besides forest clearance. Jenene takes them into the forest to show them what they are up against. A lemur trap.
Lalinkomba. Zany hoe zany fandrikifa mandringana komba zany asany tao zany.
So come along here, and then.
Azahoany komba izy toa ary mahatapitry komba. Ary rano fanjakana reto atao hoe laly.
And what type of lemurs?
Komba tsotra ataoko le ambosarin'ny boky hitanareo tao igny.
So we've carried on walking and we've just seen more traps. I mean, there's traps all along this path. This one's really intact and they've cleared this whole area of forest to mean that the lemurs have to walk on this branch.
Fa or zany le olo mandeha zany, mandeha agnaty ala toy, maraka komba ta sakafo.
People trapping lemur can trap foos as well, because when they put the trapped lemur on the fire and smelling, the foos are coming around and
Eto lany taranaka ny komba satria maro be raha reto amin'ny ala irovagna le olo manao sakafo azy.
We've just seen a hut down here and we've just come past all the lemur trapping areas, and this area is also deforested. So we're going to go and see whether there's anyone here or whether it's a temporary hut, or can you go and have a look?
Is it possible to ask Vilnius, how long ago do they think the last time this was used?
this year.
It's built this year.
Ya. Ary tragno ta fahitagna azy, tsy tragnony fambolagna fa tragnony famonoagna komba.
You said we're unlikely to meet any poachers. Is it possible that us being here means they stay away?
Yeah, the poachers are going away because of our presence.
It's a reminder that the problems these forests face are complex and need many solutions.
The guides have told us that when people hunt lemurs in the forest, they burn large areas to force the lemurs towards their traps and into smaller and smaller areas to make them easier to catch. That seems like a hell of a waste of forest. This is absolutely gutting, because when we came over that ridge the first time and saw the wall of green, we were like, we're here, this is the forest, it goes on as far as we can see, and then we trek in a kilometre and we're back in these burnt patches again. It's like a cancer eating at the heart of the forest, and that's just heartbreaking. It's ordinary people and their livelihood, so we can't say what they do and what they've done for generations is wrong. All we can do as scientists is say, look at this is amazing. This is what we want to protect. There's so many animals that are like nowhere else on Earth. The forest is so much more valuable intact. It's almost disappearing by accident because no one's managed to get things quite right yet. Ultimately, conservation in Madagascar isn't going to be solved by people coming from around the world. It's going to be solved by the next generation of young Malagasy conservationists leading the way. It's so exciting to have two hyper-enthusiastic students on the expedition with us. We've learned so much from them, and I think they're learning a lot from us as well.
One of those students is Elidio, and he too, like Jenny, has seen this forest disappear.
Ny antony nianarako conservation zegny fahasimbatan'ny tontolo iainana a Madagascar zegny sy eran'izao tontolo zao amin'ny fampipodianana hatsarana ny tontolo iainana taloha. Ohatra zegny maromaro zegny le olo manana eritreritra hiaro tontolo iainana. Amin'ny fagnavaotana ny tontolo iainana manerana zao tontolo zao.
Araka nefa nilazako teo zay fagnatsarana ny fiainam-piarabelogno mba hahatonga dépendancen'le olo amin'ny forêt naturelle hihiny. Fagnatsarana fiainam-piarabelogno, fitaizana mitomboka agny amin'ny école primaire parapahatonga agny amin'ny université, fampiharana lalagna manan-kery ho an'izay manimba tontolo iainana.
It's a really challenging situation because internationally the forest is extremely important. But when you live in Madagascar and you just need to grow enough food to feed your family, the choice between leaving the forest intact and clearing it seems like a simple one. What we need to do in the future is come up with sensible, sound, environmental reasons to sustain the forest that also help support the local people as well. So conservation has to have the community behind it. And if we can get that right, then we can help conserve the forest long into the future.